Hello guys, it's Nader again, and this time a map that I'm not particularly a big fan of, the grassy flatlands. You can see it's just a flat plate of nothingness basically. It's horrible. I hate it. I don't know why. A lot of people do love this map because I suppose it's fair. There aren't any advantageous terrain given to either side, so it's kind of like a level playing field in a lot of ways. And you can see the rules for this game were max 2 art, max 4 light, I believe. And you can see that's why our opponents went with Russia, and they brought 2 batteries of 20-pounder unicorn. And on the other side, I think we have a similar set. Yeah. This time he's actually brought a smarter kind of amalgamation of artillery. One 12-pounder foot artillery and the other being a 20-pounder unicorn. In the center you have a devastating array of artillery, the grand battery of the convention, as well as a 12-pounder foot. And that's a French 12-pounder foot, which is slightly better than your average. So in the center you can see quite a strong mix of, I think, infantry, cavalry, as well as definitely artillery. You can see, oh my god, just eight round shots going right through, and these poor guys, they're already down to two guns. They're getting absolutely shredded over here. I feel sorry for them. My middle ally, it seems he's not very keen to commit to one side or the other. Basically, I'm the guy on the right. You can see I've spread out my men as much as I can. I don't want to be taking too many casualties from that damned artillery over there. He's going to hug. This is what I hate about this map. He's going to hug the red line over here on the left. And on the other side, at least he has the decency to not do that. So, the other side...
Sir, our general is under attack.
I think, yeah, my general is coming under attack from his artillery. And you can see terrible deployments by my ally in the center. This isn't... I'm not sure why he's charging in his general. I think he was new. And this is not the way you want to be marching somewhere in columns, especially when you have a grand battery of the convention firing down on you. It's just... you're basically maximizing casualties. The way he's bunched up his infantry and artillery with his general at the very forefront, this is just a recipe for disaster. And you can see over here my men they're as sparsely deployed as possible. So, and I wanted to go up and start making contact with him as soon as I could. So I've engaged as soon as I can. And I really need to basically silence his guns, and that's exactly why. So he's going to countercharge with his dragoons. Oh god, I'm not sure why those guys stopped, but definitely wasn't a good idea. At least I've silenced his guns for now, and that's going to give my foot just enough time to come up, and I think his dragoons are going to countercharge pretty soon. Mind you, on my left flank, since my ally is just quite confused in his deployment, the French player in the center is going to come and basically aid with the Russians. And I definitely don't need this. I can't be bothered to take on the middle opponents as well as the one on the right, especially when the one on the right is pretty strong in terms of artillery. Mind you, I have silenced him, so it's good news, at least for now. And you can see those dragoons have absolutely cut right into the center of this 5th regiment. I wasn't paying attention and they got it pretty badly, and they're broken. They're broken. I'm going to bring up my last cavalry, I think. Or is it? I don't think so. But here come my dragoon guards. I managed to ward these bastards off with forming square with my foot. But it's quite a bad start. These guys are getting back on their guns pretty soon. And I lost 1 regiment for nothing. I'm going to force these guys into square. Don't charge them, for goodness sake. But just to give me enough time to bring up my 88th Connaughts, which don't seem to be bothered by time. They're quite content to be just marching up, walking. And in the center, it's just terrible. His cavalry are getting wrecked by the Grand Battery that's winning decisively. It's just, he's marching back and forth, almost as if to just wait away his troops in front of artillery. You can see there's quite a strong presence over here on the left by the French guy. He's obviously trying to flank around and crush the Russian right, and then just scoop up and come on to the center, which is kind of a mirror of my own plan. That's what I'm attempting over here. So the 88th Connaughts should be firing anytime soon. Wonderful volley. You can just see the morale of those poor musketeers plummeted. And I'm bringing up my light foot as well. Here in the rear I have 1 more reserve, well 2 more reserves, the 42nd Foot as well as 1 unit of foot guards. But that's pretty much it. I'm not sure these horse guards are mine. I think they're not, actually. You can see by the terrible deployments, yeah, these are definitely not mine. But these other guys, this line basically is. So basically I've had to peel off a brigade of my own infantry to ward off any French attack against my left. I was hoping my ally could help me, but it seems he drifted into my left first, and then he formed up his columns again, and he's drifting to the right in the center, not doing anything at all really, just presenting a wonderful juicy target for his artillery over here. You can see, oh my god, that's just terrible, terrible. He's losing most of his corps by basically not engaging at all. You can see the French artillery at Cheval have basically, they've come up over here. They're starting to unlimber pretty soon. And over there, the mounted rifles, they finally break, and a massive contingent of chasseurs à cheval go on the offensive. He only has 1 musketeer, well 2 musketeers to contain this flank, but it doesn't seem like things are going well. And he's put up his old guard to break this flank, so it seems he's winning on this side. Mind you, my side, he's basically formed up a defense in depth, so I'm slowly but surely starting to exert pressure on his left. These 88th Connaught Foots, they're doing pretty well.
All hope is lost, sir.
And since his guns are so near to the firing line, he can't basically limber up on his artillery again. It's basically an abandoned cause. His artillery are dead. These 3 units are mine. He's going up against these guys. I'm not sure why he's not maintaining his distance. I mean, he has rifles after all. And why are his Lightfoot over here just deployed like this? I'm not sure. It's quite confusing. And he's just going to let himself get charged like that by dragoons. This is an excellent unit, by the way, Horse Guards. And I'm starting to get some fire off, but it's clear that it was a waste. That rifle regiment just got absolutely wasted. Over here you can see that my men have actually crossed over to this side. I'm getting ready to basically punch through his left flank and turn it completely. That's why I've sent 2 of my best troops over here, the 42nd and the Foot Guards, to make sure whenever there's an opening I can just go through and get a flank off. I don't have any cavalry left anymore. I only brought 3 to be honest, so it's not quite a surprise. And I don't think I mentioned this, but I brought no artillery of my own. I invested completely in having
men are running, sir.
infantry. Our men are running. Okay, that was a charge by the dragoons, and they're coming up against my line. Not ideal. There's only 11 of them, but it's still annoying. I'm not sure what he's doing still. Column, what is this column doing here? And what are these guys doing here? Why have they formed square? What is this confused... What is he doing in the center? I don't understand. At least on the flanks we are winning. You can see the French guy, he was quite successful in turning the Russian left flank, right flank. And it's only a matter of time before he breaks through. And it's a similar thing. I've broken in on his left flank over here. You can see the foot guards have formed line and they're firing. If only these guys could form square, that would be ideal against the dragoons, but... Oh god, they didn't form square. Overall, I am doing pretty well though, and that did cause quite a few casualties, but I managed to ward them off. And you can see that the Russian corps is being slowly but surely depleted. I have no answer for these dragoons, by the way. They're just raking my rear. Hopefully, maybe my ally will help with his King's German Legion. He doesn't seem to be too bothered. They're just walking along. And the French guy, by this time, he knows that if I manage to break the Russians on this side, as well as the Russians on the left, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So he's starting to aid his ally. And you can see that 2 regiments of Polish Legion just coming in.
Men are running, sir.
This is less than ideal. And yeah, he does manage to rout. I think I routed his dragoons all by myself using my infantry. And here we see that wonderful volley, that smoke from that volley. The 42nd Black Watch have come and they've completely routed. And yeah, this is it. This is it. I finally managed to break into the Russian right, left over here. And on the other side, if you look at the mini-map, you can see the middle ally is quite confused in his deployments. It's just a weird deployment. I think he's lost most of his guns. He lost all of his guns. And now he's still in these bloody fucking columns, doing absolutely nothing. And over here on the right, I'm continuously advancing forward, making sure he's routing, and I really shouldn't have to be dealing with the middle ally as well. But you can see the middle ally, he's brought up his Fusiliers in the middle. The 42nd Black Watch, I think they're going to get the first volley, hopefully. Oh, come on, fire, for goodness sake. Okay, good. Wonderful. If only I had a single cavalry left, I could pretty much win this in one charge. Finally, you can see even the center is crumbling. God, it's really hard going, this one. In the center, I'm going to advance. In the left, I've just about managed to hold on. But when I saw the person in the center sending over his cavalry, that was just, my heart sank, because I knew I had absolutely no way of countering this. And I can't believe a routing unit came back, the Musketeers, and I had to send in Major General Picton to charge into him. I had no chance. And I really boosted these guys' morale just to make sure they stay in just a little bit longer. And here come his dragoons.
One of our units has used all its ammunition, sir.
I'm not sure why, but he went for my center, so... If he had just come around the flank, then he could have had a much more successful cavalry kind of onslaught. Completely wrapped up my right and then the center. But he kind of misused his cavalry in the center. And this is the remnants of my allies' center. I mean, it's still not doing anything. He's not holding the French, so that's why we have so many French units over here.
Used all its ammunition, sir.
And my 42nd Black Watch was just routed, just completely and utterly quashed. The Dragoons are still wreaking havoc on my 88th Connaught. I barely have any units at this point, so... And it's going to take a long while by the French on the other side because they're so tired to actually come up. They just destroyed pretty much the entirety of this Russian corps. There are only 3 units left, really.
Our men are running, sir.
On my side, there are no Russian units remaining. I completely destroyed them. And I've been fighting half of the French cavalry. Well, most of the French cavalry and pretty much half the infantry. And you can see I managed to rout his dragoons, so all of the cavalry is gone, but I've routed myself, so that's the end of my 88th Connaught. I only have 1 light infantry regiment left somewhere around here, and I have Major General Picton. Finally, this is the time that the ally in the middle finally decides he might actually want to get in on some kind of engagements, and he comes up in overlapping lines, so a lot of this is actually friendly fire. He's firing into the backs of the 42nd, his 42nd, and the rifles are just meandering on the right. They're well in the range of these Fusiliers, but they just keep on walking. I'm not sure why. I'm basically keeping my general very close by so he can at least boost their morale. It's quite dangerous. You can see some of them are getting shot from their horses. And the French guy, he's seeing what's happening over here, so he's going to advance as much as he can. And he's bringing up his artillery à cheval. And the Russian guy on this flank, you have to give him credit. Although he was completely and utterly quashed on his own terrain, he's falling back and he's providing enough time for the French player to basically redeploy and bring up his corps to this side, this time to face the threat on the right. So you can see, having the most important place to have the experienced player is in the center, because the center is the link. Because over here you saw that on the flanks we were stronger. Both me and my opposite number on the flanks absolutely quashed the flanks of the enemy, but because the center is the most important one, our player didn't play so well, whereas the central player for our enemy did play very well, and you can see why they're winning. The center is by far the most important place. And yeah, that's the allied French general that just died. I'm not sure if he was in one of these units or... Yeah, it seems he put his general in one of his line infantry units, which is quite odd. And he's desperately trying to go for the 12 pounder and the Grand Battery, but that means a lot of canister fire. You can see canister fire absolutely devastating these guys. And yeah, this is less than ideal, really. Getting raked by canister as they're going by. Mind you, these guys are putting some canister fire of their own down, so that's good. Although they're getting beaten by... They're not going to match the volume of fire that's coming from a Grand Battery, so that's one thing. And you can see that entire line of French just collapsed. There's only one very depleted old guard left. And this is it. This is my last
Our men
remaining.
are running, sir.
And that's Major General Picton. I was trying to basically just bolster his morale, but Major General Picton's had enough. It's not him, it's this guy. The guy on the top hat. He's finally had enough. He's lost his entire corps. And this is my last remaining unit, I remember. 15 riflemen. Over here, he's having slightly more success, but the Russian guy, he's had his impact. He held this line for as long as he could, and now a Polish legion, relatively in good shape. Only 12 men out of this entire regiment have lost their lives. And the Grand Battery just destroying anything in its path. Oh my god, that's... Oh god. You can see the chasseurs charging in. They're probably going for this artillery à cheval. That's also getting raked by fire from the 12-pounder. So yeah, the most important position is actually the center. If you don't have a good player in the center, then you're going to possibly get wrecked. I think this is proof that, yeah, this is definitely proof that having two good players on the flanks is actually not that important. It's actually much better to have two relatively inexperienced players on the flanks, but one relatively good player in the center. Because the center is what literally holds an army together. If our center was just slightly better in tying down its opposite number, then we could have actually had a really good victory, a decisive one as well. But you can see, I've only have 15 men left out of my entire corps, and that possibly might be my men as well. I'm not sure. I remember just by the end of this, I had light infantry, and rifles. So these are it. These are my last units. And over here, yeah. The chasseurs completely bayoneted these poor bastards down to death. And now they're just going to settle down and start firing on that retreating Polish legion. These guys are encircled and fired. Done, dusted, and destroyed. He has only one guard left, one young guard, and that's the end of his corps. I only have this one rifle regiment left, and that's it. So I'll just fast forward to this harrowing end for my 15 rifles. They're fresh, but doesn't matter. The French general is just going to come in and, oh my god, these poor guys. Why are you going into square? Jesus Christ. He could have just fired with his entire line on these guys by giving the attack order, the fire order. But no. I think these guys, they're going to unlimber, aren't they? Oh my god, if they do, then it's going to be a painful death for this Lightfoot. He just doesn't want to go out of square there, so he's going to give ample opportunity for these guys to fire into him. He should have just bayonet charged these 12-pounders, to be honest, but either way, it doesn't matter. This is the end for all of us. My 15 rifles, they just had like a terrible charge from that general staff. Mind you, just by force of numbers, I think he wins on this side. But his Lightfoot, they're completely inactive over here. And they're just going to get shot to bits. That's the end, pretty much. But I like to think on either side, we sweated the center pretty well. I mean, he has barely any troops left. Well, not barely, but he has Very few troops left. You can see, God, the Grand Battery, they have 2 chevrons. That means they've killed quite a few people. In terms of unit stats, you can see, yeah, my 88th Connaught Foot. My foot was just basically the mainstay of my army. They did their best. Whereas the 15th Hussars, they didn't kill anyone. It was mostly to mute his guns. Abbas of Persia, that's me. I had 1,527 kills. And just look at the abysmal performance by our middle ally. And compare it to the other one. It's like the deployment was completely mirrored with us and our enemies. So only 261 killed by our middle ally, whereas their middle ally 1,511. Almost as many as myself, so quite a good game. And proof that the center is by far the most important section of a battlefield. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have, then go ahead and subscribe, and we'll be uploading videos, I think, at a rate of 2 per week from now on. So, cheerio.
How stands the glass around? For shame ye take no care, me boys. How stands the glass around? Let mirth and wine abound. The trumpets sound.